What up? I'm back from the Midwest with some goodies, especially available there. And right now it's the 2016 Le Terroir from New Belgium, their Lips of Faith experimental, often sour beer series. And this one, I had the 2014 version, and yeah, 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, and that one was the best complex sour and hoppy beer I'd ever had. It's kind of become kind of sort of the standard, at least in my memory, for a really good hoppy sour beer. But a lot of hoppy sour beers these days are just like dry hop brewing devices, or something like that. Whereas this one is actually a barrel aged, legit Belgian influence, like up to 2 years barrel aged blend of golden ale, and then they dry hop it primarily with Amarillo hops every year. This year's uses also some crystal hops, and it was bottled, if I'm reading this correctly, on August 13th. So that was about 4.5 months ago, which isn't too old for a wild sour beer. But I did have the 2014 Le Terroir when it was fresh, pretty fresh. I don't know exactly how much, and I thought it was great. Then I had it like the next year when I had it at least a year and a half later, and I thought it was pretty darn mediocre. So hopefully this one's fresh enough to have the hopping still nice and prominent and not be really old hop, earthy, boring, and all of that. I just transported this on a plane this morning, and I might be a little bit spacey, but I really was excited to try this one and do an actual video review of it. I don't think they try to do much bittering hop with this one, just a good solid dry hopping. And I don't know if it's bottle conditioned either. There's definitely some haze in there, but it doesn't have that extremely effervescent look like a bottle conditioned saison from Belgium or something. That smells pretty good. It's got a touch of some piney hop aroma that you'd probably expect, but there's a lot of slightly piney but juicy, tart, tropical fruits happening. And just a touch of resin. Yeah, but it actually reminds me of some of the Almanac Hoppy Sour series beers, which I guess are kind of going after this one. But those ones, yeah, I guess they sometimes get to the East Coast fresher than this, but this is a little bit cheaper because those ones are this is almost half the size of this bottle for like, $10 for one. But it smells pretty nice. Ooh, yeah. It's got a good amount of body and sweetness, and it's like very tart, grapefruit, peach. I think maybe they say mango on here. Yeah, they say peachy, mango, like Amarillo hops. I don't often get that from Amarillo hops, but in combination with this tartness, it's kind of like biting into a slightly tart, unripe peach or something, and there's a little bit of some resinous green quality from the hops, but it's held up really well. And it's pretty tart, but there's still some body and sweetness. I'm not noticing a bunch of oakiness, but maybe the oakiness brings a little bit of a sweeter vanilla thing going on a little bit. This is really well made, and it stayed pretty darn good for being over 4 months old. And it's got some haze to it. It's mostly just kind of sediment that was on the bottom that got mixed around during the plane ride. There's still a little bit more on the bottom. I didn't say it was 7.5% alcohol, but it aroma's very nice. It's got a little bit of a lambic-y, very slight lambic funk. There's no barnyard Brettanomyces taking over. It's very fruity, tropical Brettanomyces, stone fruity sort of flavors. And then, of course, a clean, lactic tartness, but it's not too much that it overtakes everything. Like I've noticed a lot of hoppy sour beers. This still has some very prominent hop aromas and flavors. And it works pretty well, yeah. Amarillo and this kind of beer is nice. I think maybe it being 7.5% and having more malt presence, and it's not extremely dry and fermented and super sour. It works better. It helps to bring out some of the sweeter, fruitier characteristics of the hops. And there's still a little bit of greenness going on, but I like this a lot. Actually, should have almost bought 2 of these bottles. I wonder what this is like when it's super fresh. It probably was just especially hoppy. Right now it's some kind of harmony between the complex yeast and bacteria sort of sourness and fruitiness, and also the hop fruitiness, and then a little bit of bite of resin. And the alcohol content is, I don't notice that at all. There's no weird cidery bite to it. They've really mastered this beer, I would say. And they've been doing this for quite a few years. I think before I had this one, if I ever saw like a Brett beer or a hoppy sour beer, those were very rare before I first had this one a few years ago. I was like, that sounds really weird. But they do a great job of it. And of course, there's Orval that does the original dry hop Brett beer, but this one is hopped and dry hopped like an in-your-face American hoppy beer, like a pale ale. Where I've had a lot of very lightly dry hopped wild ales and sour beers, but this one really packs in a good, nice fruity sour barrel character from their barrel aging with a prominent dry hopping. Yeah, I would say the closest thing to this is the Almanac Hoppy Sour series, but those ones are a little bit too sour almost often. This one is still keeping a really nice hop aroma, even despite its age. It's definitely right up my alley. And I can't really tell if it's actually bottle conditioned or not, but it doesn't really matter. I like the way it feels. I like the carbonation content. And the first, when you first gulp it down, it has this brisk, kind of perceived hop bitterness, but then it doesn't linger. There's like very low actual IBUs, I think, that are measurable in this, and also a brisk touch of really tart, peach, stone fruit, tart mango. But then that fades pretty quickly, and there's just a little bit of a juicy sweetness, and some green hop character that lingers, and it's really, really pleasant. I'll give us a pretty darn high score, actually. I'm glad I found this, and it looks pretty nice. I would give this like maybe even like a 90. I like this a lot. And I've been so skeptical of hoppy sour beers. I've had so many dry hopped everythings that are sour that are just really one-dimensional, but I guess this is because they use actual, barrel-aged sour beer blends, and they really have been doing it for years and know how to blend that and use a significant dry hopping, and it makes it work out really well. It's like, it tastes like tart, juicy apricots. It's got a lot of different flavors going on, and I prefer this more than a lot of fruited sours because there's always a little bit more complexity with that hop bite. It brings in some fruit flavors, but it's not just like you're drinking, just fruit juice with some lactic acid or anything. I mean, I guess I read this is primarily fermented with Brettanomyces, but a super fruity Brett strain, and probably one that it's not like they add funk and age on it, and they age it to get more lactic sour characters in the barrel. And it's a really clean but fruitier Brett strain that it all works really well with this beer. So I would do a 90. Yeah, 90 bags of popcorn and just one soda. I don't know. See you later.